Asifiwe. Thank you so much, Senior, for giving us an opportunity to serve. And it's quite an honor just to be mentored, to be trained as well under your leadership. Great. We don't have much time, but I'll try to do justice for the few minutes that we have, just to get to understand what God is saying to us, even as we prepare to go out as missionaries, right? How many of us you're looking forward to evangelize to at least one person this month? Mkono. Okay, well, there's a problem. HOD or mission? There's a problem. But I pray that this sermon is going to stir our hearts even as we go out to preach. So I'll want to request the media team just to project to us Revelation chapter number 2. And we are going to read that in a short while. But when you read the book of Matthew chapter number 22, I'm going to talk on the subject that I've titled, Back to the First Love. The effectiveness of this missions month is pegged on your love for God. Because your love for God will push you to love other people and to sharing with them your testimony of how you love God. In fact, for them that are serving God in various ministries, the effectiveness of your ministry lifestyle stems from your relationship with God. That you do not secure your identity in the things you do for God. Your identity in God should be secured to the level whereby even when you meet challenges, whether you're meeting challenges in ministry, whether you're meeting challenges, in business, in marriage, and everything that God has given you, your identity remains secured. Bwana sifiwe. And we're going to just reflect on what it means really for us to get back to the first love. And when I was preparing for this sermon, I was preaching to myself, and I was just doing personal audit of my spirituality, where I have lost it in terms of my first love to the Lord. Because friends, it doesn't matter, it really matters how you start. But most importantly, how you finish matters greatly. And the other day we were just challenging each other with Joanne, and we were telling ourselves, we have to finish this journey of singlehood strong. We have a testimony to keep. We cannot just be doing things here and there and expect that God will do wonders for us. And we were challenging, and we were telling each other how we finish in our singlehood is gonna matter how we're gonna start our journey into marriage. And therefore, this morning, when you just reflect the words of Jesus in the book of Matthew, chapter number 22, verse 37, it's not our main text, but Jesus is having a conversation with a Pharisee, an expert of the law. And this person, this teacher of the law, asked Jesus, what is the greatest commandment? And Jesus summarizes the 10 commandments into 2 sets. And the first statement that Jesus says, he says that love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. Now, friends, what this means is that it means you have to have total allegiance and worship of God. Because the next set of the summary that Jesus gives is love your neighbor as you love yourself. And the loving part of yourself there, it does not mean how you feel about yourself. It is the fullness of the God in you, whom you first loved. That love for God will push you to love your neighbor. So if you're struggling with human relations, and I know human relations can be a bit complex and can be a bit challenging. But first of all, you have to assess and ask yourself, is my love for God secured? Now, when you talk about total allegiance and worship of God, this really means, friends, that you're offering God undivided devotion. You're obeying Him, and you are revering Him as God. It also affirms that God is the supreme object of your worship, and He is the ultimate source of your life. And you are not requiring no idol. You have no desire or ambition that takes His place. Now, friends, that is the ideal. That is our ideal way of life. If you look at it biblically and if you look at it spiritually, that should be the ideal way of life. Yet, friends, the reality of the average Christian spiritual life falls short of this standard. With divided loyalties and diminishing devotion, Your spiritual life and your love for God is under extreme attack. With so many demanding schedules. I think during this period of when you're, and Sonny and Albert can attest, when you're planning for these things, you can actually lose yourself in the moment. You can even, and I really thank God for them that have been praying for us, because this can be a bit challenging. But most important, friends, that the moment you wake up in the morning, there are so many things demanding your attention. And the question is, where have you placed God? Where have you placed God in your family devotion? Where have you placed God in the way you run your businesses? Now, I'm going to give you a few statistics that possibly is going to shock some of us. Now, friends, fewer than 1% of Kenyan Christians have read the Bible cover to cover. Fewer than 1%. We are 85% Christians. Fewer than 1% have read the Bible cover to cover. So you ask, where do you draw your convictions? Because if your convictions are coming from motivational speakers, you know motivation can get you started, but discipline gets you going. Bwana sifiwe. Listen to this, 98% of public primary schools in Kenya lack Bibles. Now, according to the Bible Society of Kenya, we have 8 million primary schools. We have around 7.8 million also children who are going to high schools, so to say. And 98% of these children, they don't have like their own Bible that they can say, this is my Bible. Friends, 85.5% of Kenyan identify themselves as Christians, according to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics of 2019. But there's a growing disengagement, especially among the middle class and youth, with many leaving church due to perceived hypocrisy and lack of relevance. On the issues of corruption and faith, Kenya ranks 121st out of 180 countries as far as corruption is concerned. This is according to Transparency International. So it is a bit complex to understand. How does it mean that a country that has 85% of Christians, they're also leading in corruption? That is oxymoron. It beats facts. And this means that majority of an average Christian, they have lost their love for God. You know, we can be many here, and we think we are many everywhere. Listen to this, friends. Your spiritual vitality is under extreme pressure and contestation with other prevailing demands of life. And the enemy is fully aware. The devil possibly will not want you to go drinking in the club, but he'll get you busy, and the barrenness of life will so distance you from your devotional life, and when your spiritual life is dry, you'll actually attest it to everything you do. Because the battle is not about making it in life. The battle is about getting it to eternity. And there is the time I preach and I say, every one of us, we have eternity. It just matters where. If there is something you need to guard jealously. And friends, I normally challenge, sometimes I wake up in the morning and I don't even have words to tell God. I just break down. If I look at how my heart is prone to wander, if I look at how my heart is prone to sometimes not desiring to push myself a bit in fellowshipping with God. Sometimes if I look at how the schedulings are so demanding and my life is not in tandem with what God desires of me, I break down. And I ask the Spirit of God, would you help me? And listen to me, friends. Your heart is prone to wander. Do you know, you can be listening to me here, but your heart is not even here. You're thinking about the chips that you're going to cook in the afternoon. You know, you just left a mbuzi slaughtered because you have neighbors who are coming. And surely you can be physically here, but spiritually you're absent. And friends, you know what? God is omnipresent, but he can be so absent to you that your neighbors can experience him, but you can't because there is something lacking. Now, let me give you an illustration here. I read sometimes a book by Darren Hardy, and it's a very profound book that you can just go and check it out. It's titled The Compound Effect. Now, Darren Hardy says this. Imagine, now this is so interesting because I love planes. Imagine a plane leaving Los Angeles, LA. Now, LA is a major city in the west coast of the United States, and it's in the state of California. It's right along the Pacific Ocean. And imagine this plane is leaving LA and it's going to New York. Now, New York is a major city in the east coast of the United States, in New York, along the Atlantic Ocean. If the nose of this plane is just 1 degree off course, by the time it reaches the east coast, it won't land in New York. It could end up 150 miles away, maybe in Philadelphia or Washington, D.C. Now, that might look like it's so far, uko maju. I try to compare this, and just imagine a plane leaves JKIA here, and it's going to Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Now, the distance between Nairobi and Addis Ababa is about 1,160 kilometers. If the pilot makes a mistake of just 1 degree off course at takeoff, the plane would miss Addis Ababa by 20 kilometers. Now, but if the plane keeps flying farther beyond Ethiopia, the same 1 degree error would compound into hundreds of kilometers off course, landing the plane in completely different country. Now, biblically, there are people of God who are told to go to the promised land. And they started off from Egypt. Some of them landed at the bitter waters of Mara. Some of them landed in fact, they were supposed to take 11 days. And they took how many days? 40 years. Because of what? 1 degree off course. And when your heart goes 1 degree off course, you don't want to imagine where you're going to land. Hell. Now, if you go to the book of, actually this is what I was talking about. Thank you, media team. If the plane is just going to take 1 degree off course, and the pilot is making this error, the plane is not going to get to its definite destination. And friends, sometimes my heart takes a 1 degree off course. And sometimes your heart is so quick to take 1 degree off course. And if you're not careful, if you do not come back to the first love, where your heart is going to lead you is going to be a place of gnashing, the place of pain, the place of groaning for eternity. Revelation chapter 2, media team, you can just give it to us. And Jesus Christ is speaking through the angel to the church of Ephesus. Of course, there were 7 churches in Asia that the Spirit of God, the angel of God actually was speaking to them. And this one case study is very interesting. Because of time, let me not read it, but just note it somewhere. You're going to read it when you get home. The church of Ephesus was a vibrant church. They had a testimony. They had a record of doing good things. They were contributing to TIG, possibly. They had a good record of attending FDC. And they were so good that they persevered in pain, in affliction. And this is what the angel of the Lord says. I know your deeds, your hard work and your perseverance. I know that you cannot tolerate wicked people. That you have tested those who claim to be apostles, but they are not. And have found them false. You have persevered and have endured hardship for my name and have not grown weary. Yet I hold this against you. You have forsaken the love you had first. Consider how far you have fallen. Repent and do the thing you did at first. If you do not repent, I will come to you and remove your lampstands from its place. But you have this in your favor. You hate the practice of Nicolaitan, which I also hate. This church possibly was CITAM Kangundo Road. We were doing so well. But something happened. There was a 1 degree off course. And it looks like we are doing so. Do you know, you can love the things of God and not love God of the things. Do you know, you can love the miracle that God has given. You can actually love your baby so well. You can love your job because you fasted for it and God gave it to you. But that very blessing can cause your heart to turn 1 degree off course. And this was the same case with the church of Ephesus. Friends, if you go back to history and you read about the church of Ephesus, right now it's an archaeological site. The city there is 100% Muslim. Because this command possibly was not taken into consideration. And this might just sound like it was Ephesus, but it can be the reality of so many of us. Do you know, friends, if you're going to keep in step with the Spirit, it's supposed to be circumspectly. Do you know Jesus? There's no place in the Bible where Jesus was in a hurry. But even by the time he resurrected, he had the time to fold his clothes. Now, I want to request Devi and Pastor Joel to join me on stage. I just want to do something that possibly will help us to understand what I'm talking about, and I'm going to close out on this in a few minutes. Rev, can help me a bottle of water? Sorry. I just want us to understand that sometimes you might be looking around and you think, possibly I need to do that and this so that I can catch up with my, your calendar of life. Possibly, by the time when I was 25, I was telling God I want to be driving a GLE. I need to be living, to have built, but I'm still walking. That does not mean that God does not love me. When I was 25, I was telling God, maybe by 28, I'll be married, and be settling down. And I was also very much compelled with some of my friends who had married young. But that was my mindset. Now, I want you to think of this. I want Pastor Joel and my brother David to help me. Now, Pastor Joel, no, David, hold this. Go to the far end. Pastor Joel, I want you to hold this and go to the far end. I want you guys to come and stand here. This is a typical Christian, a Christian who is going through the tides of this side of heaven. And they're supposed to catch up with so many things. Now, I want to see who will win. I want you to run as fast as you can. Okay, let's give them a count. In 1, 2, 3, let's go. Let's come back. Now, come. Thank you so much. Come. Between these two, which one was easier? Joel. Why? He was empty. This gentleman, he was trying to catch up with him, but he was spilling. He was leaking. And friends, this is it. When we have lost the love for God, we end up wanting to catch up with those people who sometimes are empty. And they are so empty, they might look like they are doing so well, but they are so empty. And if we try to catch up with them, we end up leaking. Friends, truly I tell you, if you are full of the Spirit of God, you have to walk. Let's go. You have to be so conscious. Because if you end up missing the step, if you end up losing yourself, you're going to spill. And so sad that some of us, we have been leaking. You have leaked to the level whereby even when you sin, it doesn't matter. You have leaked to the level whereby you do not even have regard to your husband and your wife. The first love has gone. But if you're going to keep in step with the Spirit, friends, if you're full of the Spirit of God, you have to be very conscious. I'll follow you. Sometimes it might look like you're going so slow, but friends, you're in the calendar of God. Sometimes it may look like the miracle is not coming, but you're catching up with Him because you don't want to leak. You don't want to leak. You are so conscious Where should I go? And sometimes you have to stop for a minute. You have to stop for a minute. When you realize you have been leaking so much, you tell him, Lord, fill me up.